Good morning. We're just going to finish up the rest of section 11.4 today. Yesterday we had looked at the development of a formula that allows us to calculate an infinite series. So there's the infinity, where we're adding up an infinite number of terms. And we can do that, pardon me, when two things are true. Number one, the series has to be geometric. And number two, the absolute value of r has to be smaller than 1. If those two things are true, then we can actually add up an infinite number of things using our formula, a sub 1. And remember, all that means, whoops, let me grab my pencil here. Remember, all this means is that's the first term in the series. And we divide by 1 minus r, which is the common ratio, right? So as long as we have those two things, and that's all there is to it, just two arithmetic steps, subtract, divide, and we're done. Okay, so I'm just going to bop through a couple more examples like we did yesterday, just to put everything back in your head. So here's an example of a geometric sequence, and I'd just like to point out that it's, geometric, because if you take any one of the terms and divide by the one that comes before it, so 8/9 divided by 8/3, or 8/3 divided by 8, or 8 divided by 24, no matter which one we grab, we always get the same result. We always get 1/3. So the ratio of consecutive terms is the same, 1/3. Okay, and because that number is smaller than 1, then we can add, now if I turn the commas into pluses, we can now add up an infinite series. And all we need is the very first term. So you can see the first term written right in front of us, 24, and divide by 1 minus the common ratio, which we've just figured out is 1/3. And that's all there is to it. So the infinite series is then going to be 24 divided by 1 minus 1/3 is 2/3. And 24 divided by 2/3 is the same as 24 times 3/2. So that's going to turn out to be 36. Okay, so when we add up this infinite number of terms, we get 36. Okay, as I go along, if I'm going too fast for anyone, feel free to pause the video so you can get whatever you'd like into your notes or onto your note card. Okay, here's the second example like we did yesterday. This time we have it written in terms of the sigma, but it goes the summation from j equals 1 to infinity of 12 times 3/4 to the j. Now please remember, whenever we have an exponential, whenever we have a number raised to a variable, that's going to automatically mean geometric. So this part means geometric, and whatever number is being raised to the power, this is the 3/4, that's always the r value. And you can tell that r is smaller than 1, so we should then be able to find the infinite series. All we need is the first term divided by 1 minus the common ratio. Again, we already have the common ratio, that's the 3/4. What we're missing is the first term. We don't have the first term, the a sub 1, yet. Okay, how do we find that? We have to go back to the summation, and we actually have to replace j with 1, the first number. Notice the first number on the bottom is 1. We don't need the second term, third term, fourth term, we only need the first term. So 12 times 3/4 to the first, 3/4 to the first is 3/4, and 12 times 3/4 is 9. Okay, and then just simple arithmetic. 1 minus 3/4 is 1/4, and 9 divided by 1/4 is 36. Okay, so those are just a couple more problems like we did yesterday. Now I'd just like to show you a couple other things we can do with infinite geometric series. And one goes back to elementary school. And in elementary school, when we were doing division problems, you learned that sometimes we ended up with problems that had what were called repeating, let me write a little neater there, repeating decimals. And what we can do is we can use the idea of infinite geometric series to rewrite any repeating decimal as an exact fraction. As an example, let me give you the following. What if I gave you 0.38 repeating? I don't know if you remember from elementary school, but whatever part repeats, we put a bar on top to indicate that that's the chunk that just keeps going over and over and over and over and over. Okay, so 0.38 with a bar on top means that we repeat the 3 and the 8. So this is equivalent to 0.3838383838, goes on forever. Okay? Now, how do you turn that into a fraction? Well, what we can do is we can rewrite 0.38383838 as a sum. All right, it's a little bit tricky, but as soon as you see it written out a couple of times, it's not too bad. So we could write 0.38383838 as 0.38 plus 0.0038. The two zeros are essentially taking the place of the first 38. And then take a guess, how about the third term? Okay, so we've taken care of the first 0.38. We've taken care of the second 0.38. How do we take care of the third one? We have to replace all of the preceding numbers with 0, so it becomes 0.000038. And I'll do one more. And then the last one, we'd have to have 6 zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 8. And I need just a little more room. And we just continue that pattern forever. Okay? But when you look at 0.38 plus 0.0038 plus 0.00038 plus 0.0000038, that then forms a geometric sequence. Forgetting about the plus signs for a second. It's geometric because you take any one of those, and I'll just grab this one for the heck of it, and divide by the one that comes before it, and we always get the same thing. In this case, we get 0.01. But it works if you grab this one and divide by the one before, or this one and divide by the one that comes before, or this one and divide by the one that comes before, we always get 0.01. And since 0.01 is less than 1, we can then think of that sum. Let me highlight the plus signs for everybody. We can think of this sum then as being infinitely long, and then this is then going to be equal to the first term divided by 1 minus r. We just found the r value is 0.01, and what's the first term? Well, there it is right there. The first term is 0.38. So what we end up with is 0.38 divided by 0.99. And traditionally, we get rid of the decimal point, so we'd multiply the top and the bottom of the fraction by 100. And what we'd get then is 38/99. Right? And if you actually try that on your calculator, punch in 38 divided by 99 as a division problem, what you'll get is the repeating decimal, excuse me, you'll get the repeating decimal 0.38383838. Okay? So kind of a cool thing. We can rewrite any repeating decimal as a fraction. Okay? So that's one. And then another kind of more fun application is if we were to do something like the following. Okay? If we were to go on a little field trip here, and we were going to climb the water tower. I guess, hang on a sec. Our water tower, kind of like that, and there's that big thing on the top, Ely. All right, and if we were to climb up there, okay, and we were to throw some super balls out onto Chapman Street, okay, if we were able to hit the pavement, we'd throw the ball out, and because it's a super ball, it's going to bounce a long way back, and then what's going to happen, of course, as it goes down, excuse me, as it goes down Chapman Street, it would do something like that. Bounce, 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 bounce. And of course, you guys have enough experience. You know that the bounces aren't as high as they were the first time. The first is always the biggest. Okay? Now, what if I told you that we have a super ball that rebounds 3/4 of how far it's dropped? 3/4 of how far it's dropped. And if our water tower happened to be, I'm making up a nice easy number, But what if our water tower was 128 feet tall? My question is, what would be the total of all of the vertical drops and rebounds for the ball? I'm not going to ask you guys how far does the ball go down Chapman Street, but what I'm going to ask you is the total of all of the upward movements of the ball and the total of all of the downward movements of the ball. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to pretend that the Super Ball at the very end here has an infinite number of bounces right at the end. Of course, early on, it's a big bounce up, then a slightly almost as big as bounce, then a bounce, a bounce, bounce. And at the very end, it's just going to go and stop. Okay? And we're going to pretend the bounces at the end is infinite. So what I'm going to ask you to do is help me calculate the sum of all of the ups and the sum of all of the downs. Okay? Now the first time when you first release the Super Ball, it drops down 128 feet. The first time it bounces back up on its own, it bounces up 3/4 of 128, and 3/4 of 128 is 96. So the first upward movement of the ball is 96 feet, and the first downward is 128 feet. So using our formula, we take the first term going up, the first term going down, and divide by 1 minus the common ratio. Okay, the common ratio, of course, 3/4. Okay, and when we do those arithmetics, 1 minus 3/4 is 1/4. Then what we'd get is 96 divided by 1/4, so that would be 384 feet altogether for its upward travels. And then 128 divided by 1/4 would be 512 for all of its downward travels, its drops. And so when we put the ups and the downs together, the sum of all the verticals will be 512 plus 384. And what we get as a total is that ball travels vertically, again, not down Chapman Street, but up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down for a total of 896 feet. Okay. And the last one I'm going to do, again, feel free to pause the videos at any point if you need to jot something down. Last one I want to do for this video is I want to look at a pendulum. All right? And what we're going to do is we're going to hang a pendulum from a hook in the ceiling, and then we're going to, keeping the string taut, okay, we're going to pull it out to the side, and then we're going to let it go. So when we let it go, of course, the pendulum's going to swing this way, come to a stop, gravity is going to slow it down, and then it's going to come back this way, and of course you guys are familiar with the idea, right? And just goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Now, if it travels a total of 40 inches on its first swing, and it returns 95% of the distance it swung the first time, okay? That means that on the second, when it's first coming back, then it's going to travel 38 inches, 95% of 40. Then on the third swing, it's going to travel 36.1 inches, and so on. And what we're going to do is just let this go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until it comes to a stop. So what would be the sum of that infinite number of swings? Well, it's going to be the very first swing divided by 1 minus the common ratio. But we can't put 95% in for the common ratio because we always have to change percents to decimals. And 95% as a decimal is 0.95. Okay, so now that we're using a decimal, now we're good to go. 1 minus 0.95 is 0.05, and 40 divided by 0.05 is 800. So the pendulum would swing for a total of 800 inches side to side to side to side to side to side. Okay? Alrighty. So that's the last example I wanted to do for everybody. All right, you should be set now to finish off the rest of section 4. Okay? We'll have another video to watch tomorrow, which is going to get us started in section 5. Okay? So I hope you're having a good day. Get to work on your assignment now. And then we'll see you on Thursday. All right? Have a good day.